baby story.
Right?
And to that point too, everybody said, "Oh, are you going to apologize for blaming this attack on Israel?" Even though we've had the attack on the hospital. But nobody will freak out about the beheaded babies, which was proven to be false because of an IDF soldier.
Yeah. Well, again, this is what Israel does. They're very good. This is atrocity propaganda. People are not familiar with what atrocity propaganda is. It's where you invent something horrific. It's incubator babies, right? In Kuwait, it's incubator babies. Oh, I cannot believe what they did. They came in and they took these babies out of the incubators and they threw them on the ground and then they speared them with a bayonet. And then that gives you license to hit them very hard. And in Israel's situation, oh my God, Hamas came in, they beheaded 40 babies. And immediately people are going to react emotionally. And anything Israel does after that in response is going to seem justified. And that's what that is created for. That's what that kind of propaganda is made for, is to make people okay with the real atrocities that they are about to perpetuate against the Palestinian population. And it's very frustrating that so many people fell for that instantaneously, hook, line, and sinker, with zero evidence to support it. And especially given the fact that the I-24 reporter who initially reported it never said, I saw, or I have evidence for, or here are pictures of. It was Israeli soldiers say that blah, 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 40 dead Palestinian babies, or 40 dead Israeli babies beheaded, whatever. And immediately she started walking that back. Immediately everybody started kind of like, kind of dancing around it. And then, but everybody, huge accounts on Twitter, Ben Shapiro, Meghan McCain, all kinds of people are like 40 beheaded babies. That's all you heard about for days, with zero evidence to support that as anywhere near factual. And there's still, to this day, and people will equivocate and say, well, why do you care? Why does it matter how they died? We know that kids and babies died. It matters because of what I just described. That was used as a way to manufacture consent and support for what Israel was about to do. And there's no denying that that was what it was used for at this point. And so, yeah, it's very frustrating to see that kind of thing be so effective. I'm not surprised by it as somebody who is kind of obsessed with propaganda and studying it and how it works. That's not new. I mean, we've seen it right? Weapons of mass destruction, the Gulf of Tonkin, incubator babies, the Syrian gas attacks. That has been used against us so many times. But I think that's what makes it so frustrating, is that we have a whole host of experiences and examples of that being used, and yet still so many people fall for it and don't just take a step back and be like, okay, wait a minute. Israel soldiers say, okay, but where's the proof for that? Before I start freaking out and reacting emotionally and giving my consent for the further brutalization of Palestinians, maybe we should take a step back and wait until there's some actual evidence for this. And it's just, I mean, here we are. I mean, this is what it leads to.
Yeah, and I would have thought that the people who didn't believe in Russiagate would have been really quick to be like, hold up here, this looks really, really bad. But no, a lot of those people couldn't wait to jump on that. And then it's kind of funny that once they couldn't get proof of that, then all of a sudden it became, oh, well, they were burning babies alive and they had to use an AI image of a baby supposed to be burned alive. And they doubled down on it. They wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, no. Ben Shapiro tweeted that. I think Benjamin Netanyahu tweeted that out.
Yes,
an AI image, and that's what's so frustrating. And despite the fact that we had the beheaded babies debunked, we've had the AI image debunked, people are still willing to buy. I mean, they were willing to. Israel said they didn't bomb the hospital. Okay, really? After all the lies that we've already experienced from Israel, not to say that Hamas isn't lying as well, or that Hamas isn't putting out propaganda. Of course they are. Everybody is in this situation, right? And every country, every state, every militia, every military, everybody has their own propaganda. There's no escaping it. Propaganda is everywhere. So I'm not saying that Hamas isn't, but come on, really? Do you think Hamas has a sophisticated propaganda machine like Israel does? Of course they don't. So yeah, it's just very frustrating to see how effective this is, regardless of how many times we've had this proven wrong. I often wonder, how many times does your government get to lie to you before your sense of skepticism kicks in? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, like I said, you would think people would know better at this point, but unfortunately, this conflict really dropped the mask off a lot of freaking people, and it's been kind of upsetting, but I think anybody who had half a brain kind of realized like this was always going to be the outcome of the populist right when it was their time to shine, so to speak. And it's the same deal with China and Taiwan. As soon as anything pops off there, everybody's going to be Lindsey Graham. Everybody's going to be that way. And then I kind of had some hope for RFK, and this is somebody that you've gone to bat with, and I kind of had the mask pulled off my eyes when it came to all they had to do was just call him an anti-Semite once, and then he could not wait to go on a full speaking tour of just a full Zionist campaign, and have his buddy Rabbi Shmuley with him at all times, and talk about going to war with Iran. And then he's even like backpedaling some of the stuff that he said that was good about China. I was excited for RFK's campaign because I'm like, wow, finally a presidential candidate who actually is like seriously polling that is good on the war with China. But then he just quadruples down his support for Israel and will not freaking budge. So I mean, that just really to me made him look so fake, and his whole campaign to me, as soon as that happened, I'm like, he's done. Send him home.
He killed his own campaign. I think Scott Horton even said that. I don't think I've ever seen a campaign self-implode as quickly as this one has. And I'm not surprised by him at all. Like, I was not pumped for RFK because I know who he is. And people keep trying to say, well, he only did it because they called him an anti-Semite one time. He's a lifelong Zionist. His family, lifelong Zionists. They are firmly entrenched in the political establishment, despite the fact that his family has so-called disowned him. They are still he's a Kennedy. He's a Kennedy. He is very firmly entrenched in the political establishment. So, he is definitely a lifelong Zionist. He has always been a Zionist. And there was absolutely no way he was going to go against Israel in any capacity whatsoever. And what's so frustrating to me is that so many people came at me because I obviously, as you know, went really hard at him, as I do with any Zionist, but especially with him. People keep asking me, why do you care? You don't care about electoral politics, so why do you care? I care because he has a massive ass platform and he's a raging Zionist. That's why I care. Every time he opens his mouth about Palestine, he lies, and it is the worst, most grotesque lies about Palestinians, and it is unbelievably harmful and dangerous, and it's not okay. So that's why I care. But I went really hard at him, and a lot of people, which I'm used to, attacked me for it. And one of the things, the argument that they were most commonly using, which was so gross to me, was it's just one issue. It's not just one issue. Are you ridiculous? Like, it is one issue. Who helps the surveillance all of the surveillance stuff across the globe? Israel. Who controls most of that software? Israel. Who police brutality? Care about police? Who do you think trains our cops? Israel. Okay, you want to talk about it's just Palestine? It's Syria. It's Lebanon. It's Iran. It's the entire Middle East. It's a whole host of issues. The idea that anybody is trying to boil that down to it's just one issue, and people kept saying nobody cares about it. People care now, don't they? And it's weird because I had the foresight to be able to see that a situation like this was very possible and almost, frankly, just likely. I mean, we've seen these kinds of things, the Great March of Return. We've had numerous different examples where this situation heats up. And so, of course, this is going to happen. Yeah, the Twin Towers, I think that's what you're meaning there, Billy. Yes, yes. We'll go there.
It took me a second.
Yes, I think that's what you mean. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I'm thinking
urban moving systems are dancing Israelis.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just one issue. And the idea that anybody was trying to condense it down and make it meaningless and that nobody cares. People do care about Palestine, first of all, very clearly, as you can see by the thousands upon thousands, millions probably of people across the globe who have been out in the streets protesting the situation. Thank you, Billy. But yeah, I mean, but now suddenly a lot of people who trashed me for weeks, months, are now walking away from Robert Kennedy Jr. For weeks, months, are now walking away from Robert Kennedy Jr. I'm waiting for my apologies, bitches. I mean, you trash me and call me all kinds of names and you're just a contrarian and blah, blah. No, I just actually care about Palestine. And I'm not okay with, I'm just turning the other cheek and looking the other way when there's a raging Zionist in front of me. That's not an okay position to take. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people who are now rescinding their support for Robert Kennedy Jr. And I'm glad that you are. But I hope that you take a lesson from this, that this is not, you can't just, This is a major issue. This is a World War III, as we just talked about. This is a World War III kicking off kind of issue. And so the idea that anybody was trying to minimize it or boil it down to, something meaningless that nobody cares about, it's just one issue, is so ridiculous. I lost friends over it, which is really unfortunate. And it's very frustrating to me that anybody was able to, who cares about humanity in any way, or who claims to be anti-war, that you were able to turn the other cheek and look the other way on Palestine. It speaks volumes about who you are and like where your head's at. And it's just really unfortunate. A lot of people that I really respected went down that path, and it makes me really sad.
Yeah, well, what's funny is probably a couple months ago, Connor Freeman and I did a show together, and him and I were glowing with praise for RFK initially, and we were so excited for his campaign. And then I want to say literally the day I released the show is where that whole deal came out, where he just
the Roger Waters thing.
Yeah, he completely ripped the mask off, and just, his campaign turned into, how far can I put Netanyahu's balls on my chin? Like, that's exactly how it went. And both him and I were kind of heartbroken about it, because we're like, we finally have like our guy. We've been looking for somebody that just knows anything about the war stuff and is good on issues. And he would send out articles from antiwar.com, which is what makes it seem so much worse, because it's like, you read antiwar.com on all these other issues, but this one issue, you're blind. Like, just this one, it makes it look so much worse. Like, it literally makes it look like he's being paid off.
Yeah.
You just turn a blind eye to that one thing. That one fucking thing is the one thing that you're willing to turn your eye on, but you cite antiwar.com.
Yeah.
Like, that slaps people like us right in the face.
Yes, and it's fully inexcusable. Yeah, it is fully, in my opinion, it is fully inexcusable in the year 2023 to be a Zionist. I'm sorry. I mean, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I could see maybe where you could be bowled over by the propaganda and you could, still be in, that kind of mind space. But at this point, knowing what we know, the things that have been revealed, watching this play out, I think really since the social media boom, where we now have Palestinians on the ground live reporting what's happening to them, now that you have had that exposure, there's just, I don't know how anybody could still justify supporting Israel at this point. I just do not understand that mindset in any way. You are literally supporting an ethnic cleansing. There's just no other way to say it. There's no nice way to say Israel is committing a genocide. That's just reality. They have gone from being those crimes being perpetuated against them in the Holocaust to now being the perpetuator. And it is just, it's not that the psychology behind that aspect of it is also incredibly fascinating to me. But it's really unfortunate that anybody, especially those people, like Kennedy tries to pretend like he's the anti-war candidate. Right? He said, I'm the only anti-war peace candidate in the race. My guy, shut the fuck up. You just shut the entire fuck up. I mean, the idea that he has the balls to say that he's a peace candidate as he supports the absolute brutalization and annihilation of Palestinians is just disgusting. It's insulting to my intelligence. And it's just, again, it's just inexcusable. And again, the idea that he's tweeting out antiwar.com and he reads Caitlin Johnstone and you're pro-Israel? I mean, get the fuck out of here. I have no time for that at all. None.
Yeah, it was so sad.
And he's a COVID guy, right? Israel? The COVID? Oh, I shouldn't say that. Sorry, YouTube.
No, you're good. You're good. You didn't go to the very certain V word.
Sometimes I forget because my show's on TNT. I can say whatever the fuck I want. So sometimes I slip. But yeah, the 2020 thing, the thing, and the boop and all the stuff. The stuff that Israel was responsible for within all of that and all of the the jabby jabs and all that stuff. I mean, the idea that he's a COVID guy and still doesn't see the implications there. I mean, it's just no excuse. There just really is not.
Yeah, it's very disheartening because, there is a part, I think, of most of us that we do kind of want to see our ideas represented on a large stage. And when you see somebody like Dave Smith on Joe Rogan, it's kind of nice. And, Jimmy Dore, same deal. He's awesome. He's absolutely fantastic. And he was somebody else I kind of came across a little bit more recently, and I found him to be very, very favorable. And to see some people go after him is just ridiculous. But to go on Tucker Carlson Tucker Carlson and then say they want a war with China. And Tucker's been one of the biggest propagandists when it comes to the war with China. I mean, hats off to you, man. Like, that's got to take fucking sack, because you know Jimmy's no slouch, and you know that he knows that Tucker is a propagandist in this respect.
Well, that's why he did it. I mean, listen, Jimmy's a friend of mine, and he is, in my opinion, one of the most important. And I don't do the hero worship thing. I'm not looking for Jimmy Dore to save me, but he is a friend of mine. I know him, and he is, I think, one of our most important voices, because he is not afraid to go on Tucker Carlson and call him out and hold him accountable for. I mean, he also changed his mind on Julian Assange. Tucker Carlson admitted that live on air. He used to be in support of the imprisonment of Julian Assange, and it was because of Jimmy Dore coming on his show and presenting his argument that he changed his mind. He admitted it on air, and I think that that's the benefit of Jimmy Dore, is that and also his ability to appeal to the left and